So I was scribbling in my journal this morning and have compiled an idea for 2 mini books that I have been working on throughout this week through Tetra Paks, because I have images that are really similar and don't seem like standalone pieces. And also I love to try to figure out how to put things into a book form. I found this little keyhole, which is just something I found at a flea market a long time ago for bookbinding. I used to put them into the covers of books. For now, I'm going to use this, I believe, as the cover of this mini book. I'm going to start with a scrap of paper because we have tons of this. These are just scraps of Strathmore drawing paper that we use for our journals that we make. I have all these little pieces that I really obsess about using up. So I could make the book this size, or I could add a little dimension and maybe put a textile down or make it a thicker cover, which I might do. This is not quite an inch, so I think I'll make the book pages in 1 inch because it's just easier for my brain, if this is even an inch. Something about using old materials, an inexact start. Kind of makes more sense with the fold to just use a dull awl. The reason why I'm using a dull awl so it doesn't cut through the paper, just will make an impression in the paper. This will probably make a little mark through both layers. It would also be helpful if I put my paper on a piece of cardboard because it gives a little cushion to make the bottom layers marking more clear. So I'm giving the ruler a little distance from the line so that I can account for the thickness of my tool. And this piece of paper is going to make a few books of this size. So I'm going to start in the middle because the fold's there and just zigzag. This calls for a cover. I don't have a back cover in here, so I can add another for a back cover. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 at the most. I have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's too much, so why cut through all that? Take this guy off because it would really help if I had a circle cutter, but I don't. So I took off one of the extra pages, so I know this is the right size, and I'm just roughly drawing my circle around truly my already rough circle, which I cut out of the Tetra Pak for the prints that I'm going to be making for the book. It's a pretty lopsided circle. I think that's okay. So now I'm going to use my circle template. I'm going to put the edges, the rough edges of my circle to the folded edges of my little book. Trace. I'm going for it with the scissors here. What could happen, what is happening, is pages will twist a little. And so it seems like I'm holding them really tight and they're going to be exact. They're going to shift, but do your best to hold it tight. Reset the folds in between and get a good grip. So here's my book. I could use another piece of the same paper for the front and back cover just to give it a little more sturdiness. A lot of times I do that. I could also use a vintage textile, which I love doing, something that will show through the keyhole. I may want to just make an extra print. I have this one here. Just cut out of it and then just focus on Toots's eye. And then I could cut that and put that down. So there are lots of ways that I could play with this. Now I'm cutting out my Tetra Pak pieces. I'm going to make extra just in case I mess up. I'm going to engrave my story. Just to get a sense of what my little prints look like. So this is nice for a cover to do double thickness to make it stronger. Something I'm always surprised by is that it's the reverse. So my whole story is facing this way. Now it's gonna be facing this way. I've been looking at this keyhole, trying to evaluate the best way to make this into a cover so it's not just glued onto the surface with a gap in between. So if I just put it onto a page or a cover, this would be not the way I want to do it. So I'm using the back of my favorite gum box, Refresh, and I made this little window, which is the theme, and the keyhole fits in there, but it doesn't do too much for that gap. So I'm gonna make a few more layers and then glue these all together and sink that keyhole into it. So there are my 4 pieces. And it sits a lot nicer in there. So this is just the beginning of my exploration. So I'm just using some bookbinding glue. It looks a little hard. You can add water. Well, let's see if this glue holds. It could be that I have to sand or rough up the exterior of this paper, of this cardboard, for it to adhere better. I'll let that dry and then I'll trim.